why did Rumi and the Whirling Dervishes whirl? What made Rumi start spinning in the first place? Most people think of Rumi as just a poet, but he was more than that. He was a scholar, a teacher. He lived in the city of Konya, a city in Turkey, but back then it was part of the Seljuk Empire, a major cultural and intellectual hub of the Islamic world. Konya wasn't just some quiet town. It was alive with scholars, philosophers, and travelers from across the Islamic world. And Rumi, one of the greatest Islamic scholars, was deeply rooted in Islamic tradition. Grew up walking that path every day. We'll take a close look at this subject now and understand what Rumi was looking for with his unique style, like thousands of scholars and seekers before him. Not just answers, but meaning. Welcome, let's begin. He was spinning because he was pulled by love. Not the kind of love you read about in stories, but something deeper. A love so powerful it felt like gravity. The same gravity force that makes stars spin, galaxies spiral, and the entire universe rotate. That's what Rumi felt. The whirling of Rumi, and later the Whirling Dervishes, isn't just a ritual. It's a mirror of the cosmos itself. It reflects the turning of the planets, the changing of the seasons, the flow of time. Rumi didn't spin for show. He spun because his soul was being drawn, pulled into the orbit of the divine. His whirling wasn't just physical, it was spiritual. It was the heart aligning with the rhythm of the universe, returning to its source. Now let's be clear. Spinning isn't a ritual in Islam. It's not part of Turkish culture. It's not from Iranian tradition either. So, where did it come from? The spinning of Rumi and the Mevlevi order didn't come from a tradition. It came from a state of being, and it is still connected to the Islamic tradition. But we've got to zoom out to see the full picture. If we try to explain it only in cultural or local terms, we'll miss the whole point. If you don't understand the whole, you can't make sense of the part. This spinning is an effect. So what's the cause? Where did this whirling even begin? There's a verse in the Quran, "To God belong the armies of the heavens and the earth." But what does that mean? Are we really supposed to believe that everything in the universe is marching around like a soldier? That stars, trees, oceans, even atoms are all following orders? Let's give a quick example to understand this better. Imagine you're standing on a wide street in the city of Konya, Rumi's city, and suddenly you see a huge crowd moving. They drop to the ground, then rise. They turn right, then left. They go from crawling to sprinting at the same moment, and you're watching this huge crowd movement from a distance. It looks chaotic at first, but the more you watch, the more it makes sense. Would you think it was all random? Of course not. You didn't hear a command, you didn't see a leader, but still there's rhythm, there's harmony. You just know they're following instructions. You don't need to see the commander to know there is one, because the order itself is the proof. So how does all this tie back to Rumi? Here's the thing. We misunderstand Rumi's spinning because we've lost sight of the bigger picture. We think it's just a ritual, or only some mystical psychological trance. But the real question is this: What did Rumi see that made him start to spin? Look up. The stars, billions of them spinning in the same direction. Galaxies turning, planets rotating, not crashing, not colliding. Just harmony. Remember that crowd in the city of Konya? Even if you couldn't see the commander, you knew there was one because of the synchronization, the unity, the rhythm, the purpose. Same with the stars. They're not drifting aimlessly. They're not spinning out of chaos. They're turning with intention, following an order. And Rumi saw that. So now ask yourself, is this obedience happening because of force or because of love? Are they obeying out of love or out of fear? Are all beings choosing this movement joyfully? Or are they under pressure? That's a real question. And the answer's actually pretty clear. You can tell where their obedience is coming from just by watching how they move, how they act, how they carry out their task. Their behavior says it all. Their actions reveal everything. So look again at the universe, from the spin of stars to the orbit of electrons, from trees blossoming to rivers flowing. Does it all feel like it's being forced, or does it feel like joy? To anyone who's ever stood in a forest, watched the waves roll in, listened to birds at sunrise, you already know the answer. It's not pressure. It's not force. It's peace. It's love. Because those under pressure don't radiate calm. But nature gives us calm. It's like the world is in love and every part of it is dancing. Rumi once said, "For the whirling, I raised my hand." That hand? It reached toward the stars, the same stars spinning in love, the macro universe. And he said, "I lowered my hand." And that hand, it reached inward, toward his own atoms, where electrons spin around the nucleus like tiny galaxies. The micro universe. From atoms to galaxies, everything spins in divine love. So Rumi asked, if they spin, how could I stay still? So he started the whirl, and in that spinning he found stillness. Not in the body, but in the soul. Rumi found the rhythm, and in that motion he found love in his Creator. So then, what is the highest rank a human being can reach? In other words, what did Rumi mean by the perfect human, the insan al-kamil? The perfect human is the person who can harmonize with all the rhythms of the universe. It's someone who aligns with the cosmic symphony, who moves in sync with that divine rotation. So, how does that happen? All the rhythms in the universe are actually defined by Allah's names, Allah's attributes. Every motion, every pattern, every beauty in the universe is a reflection of those names. Cleanliness is a reflection of the name Al-Qudus, the most pure. Justice is a reflection of the name Al-Adl, the just. Generosity is a reflection of the name Al-Karim, the generous. Compassion is a reflection of the name Ar-Rahim, the most merciful. In short, all of creation moves to the rhythm of Allah's names. The perfect human is the one who learns to move to that rhythm. Are you cleansing yourself in harmony by knowing the name Al-Qudus? Are you showing mercy in harmony by knowing the name Ar-Rahim? Are you giving generously in harmony by knowing the name Al-Karim?
Eat this. You must be very hungry.
Thank you.
Are you acting justly in harmony by knowing the name Al-Adl? If you are, then you've become like a gear in the great machinery of the cosmos. A gear that turns in harmony, a gear that Allah is pleased with. Allah is calling us to the universe and is, in a way, saying, Match your rhythm to the universe, surrender to its harmony. Join the cosmic turning. Let your life turn. Let your character turn. Let your moods, your sitting, your standing, your habits, and your virtues all turn. Turn toward Allah. Be colored by Allah's color. Just as the Quran guides us, take on Allah's coloring. And who could color better than Allah? That's what it means to be a part of the great factory of the universe. To be one of the gears turning in perfect sync with the divine machine. That is the Insan al-Kamil, the perfect human. So then, what does it mean to draw near to the Creator? What does it mean to draw close to Allah? To draw near to Allah means to feel the light of Allah's existence within your soul. The farther you drift, the more you live in the darkness of Allah's absence. But remember, Allah is not bound by space. There's no physical place where Allah resides. A great scholar from the last century, the Nursi, explained this truth beautifully.
In the nearness of God, there is the light of existence. In distance from Him, there is the darkness of non-being.
In other words, when you draw near to God, you gain true existence. When you turn away, you fall into the darkness of nothingness. For example, if a person shows generosity, does that mean they are drawing closer to God? Yes, because God is Al-Karim, the most generous. If they give more, do they come even closer? Yes. And do they feel more joy when they give the most? Yes, because in that moment, their soul is tasting the sweetness of God's name, Al-Karim. At that point, the joy no longer comes from eating, but from feeding. Not from just living, but from helping others live. Justice works the same way. If you stop an oppressor and save someone who's been wronged, even years later when you remember that moment, your heart will light up with joy. Why? Because in that moment, you are close to God's name, Al-Adl, the just. But if you stay silent in the face of injustice, then the darkness of that name's absence starts to creep into you. So what does it really mean to draw near to Allah? It means increasing your share in His names. It means shaping your character around His attributes. And where have those divine names shown up in their most complete form? In the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Prophets like Abraham, Moses, and Jesus, peace be upon them all, were all guides sent to show humanity God's mercy. But in the end, God sent the final guide, the Quran. And Allah sent the Quran through the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Rumi's role model was him, because no one was more merciful, more generous, more just than him. Rumi knew this. He found the path to becoming the perfect human by following the Prophet Muhammad's example. And the more we resemble the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, the more we begin to move in sync with the divine rhythm of the universe. As Rumi said,
I was raw. I was cooked. I was burned. I was raw because I hadn't yet matured in the fire of love. I was cooked because I was drawn in by the beauty of the divine. I was burned because I was consumed by the love of Allah.
Understanding these truths begins with discovering the one who is truly worthy of our love. If someone falls in love with the sparkle in the mirror, telling them, let it go, won't help much. But if you show them that the sparkle is actually coming from the sun in the sky, they'll lift their head and see the real beauty. They'll stop looking at the mirror and turn toward the sun. Everything in this world works the same way. Everything is a mirror reflecting one of Allah's divine names. An architect shows his artistry through stone and concrete. A chef displays her skill through pots and pans. A painter reveals his genius on canvas. Every talent shines through a different mirror. And so Allah created the universe to reflect Allah's endless names. Every creature is a mirror of one of those names, and all those mirrors together make up the universe. So really, this whole world is made up of countless mirrors of God's divine names. And when we look into these mirrors and witness the reflections of those names, we no longer chase the sparkle in the mirror. We begin to seek the source of that light. We stop being like someone who cries when the mirror breaks and become like someone who realizes the sparkle came from the sun. In that moment, every beauty leads us back to the most beautiful one, back to Allah, our Creator. And when you're captivated by Allah's attraction, no other attraction can pull you in again. That's what happened to Rumi. He was caught in this pull. As the big Islamic scholars have said, the essence of the entire universe is kneaded with love. It's Allah's love that binds us to one another. It's the pull of that love that holds the cosmos together, galaxies, stars, and systems alike. Rumi saw that truth, and that's why he spun until he lost himself. He was completely overcome by the divine attraction. Drunk on God's love, he forgot the world, and in Rumi's book he writes, "The heavens are lost in love, the angels are lost in love, the stars are lost in love. The sun is lost in love, the moon is lost in love, the earth is lost in love. The elements are lost in love, the plants are lost in love, the trees are lost in love, humanity is lost in love. The palace of life is lost in love, and the entire universe is lost in love. May we too one day be cooked and burned in the fire of divine love." Great mystics like Rumi feared Allah, but their fear wasn't about punishment. It was the fear of losing his love, of being deprived of his affection, his care, his glance. In short, every particle in this universe is lost in divine love. Everything spins because of that love. Everything moves because his gravity. And we as human beings must move with that rhythm. We must join in the rhythm of this cosmic love. That is why Rumi turned.
Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and let us know your thoughts in the comments below.